What's up, FBC Ardmore? This is your youth pastor, Jake Hansen, just getting ready for another interview. These are my friends, Don and Amye Kendrick. You guys know them very well. If you don't know them, you need to check yourself because you might not be going to church. They're everywhere. Don gets a double dose of the Holy Ghost every Sunday morning, and Amy's on stage in Fusion. So if you've never seen her, you've never crossed the street.
Never been there.
Something awesome about these guys is me and Don, we get to hang out quite a bit. We go to breakfast together once a week, and Don, the lady that we eat breakfast with, thinks that you're my dad. So this is my Ardmore dad, and I told Amye she's too young to be my mom, so she's my Ardmore sister. How about that? Anyway, look forward to getting to know more of you guys, and I hope that your story gets to help those who are at home watching this, and just what a cool way to kind of introduce our church to our church, just one story at a time. Now, we're at your guys' house because, Don, you're not at high risk, but with your cancer and everything, your lungs are kind of not to where they fully need to be, but you're playing it safe, avoiding everybody, but your wife's out there getting to work, isn't she?
Right. I'm doing all the work. He's been home for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's
He's
awesome.
still
2
bored.
weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Living a homebound vacation life right here, right?
You can-
Early retirement, maybe?
Can't beat it. Oh, yeah.
Amye is somebody who leads worship in Fusion. She's there on both services, and Don's one of those people of FBC Ardmore who goes for the double dose of the Holy Ghost. He blends into both sides of the service, but you guys are a big part of our church. You guys actually met serving in our church, and I thought it'd be awesome just to get to hear your testimony and hear a couple things about what God's been doing, and just something to bless our church family with. So Amye, would you share with us your story of how you met Jesus?
Okay, I grew up in Ringling, so I went to Ringling First Baptist, and I remember at the age of about 13 being in youth group, and we watched this video, and I have looked for this video and can't find it, so if that's something you can find. Yeah. But it was a video of some teenagers in a car who had a car accident, and when they all perished, and there was a list of names that scrolled up on the windshield, and one person in the car's name was on that list. It was the Lamb's Book of Life, and the other ones didn't understand why their names weren't on there, and he said, well, but that's because I'm saved. And they said, what do you mean saved? They'd never heard of it. He shared with his friends, but it was too late. And he talked about, they were upset that he didn't share the gospel with them. And you've seen the video?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Because it's got to be from the 90s or 80s. I don't know. It's old. Well, I'm sure it was on VHS too. But God really spoke to me that night. I had grown up in church, so I knew what it meant to be saved. I just never did take that step. And that night was the night that I gave my heart to the Lord, and stayed pretty much in church. Then I went to college. And when I came back from college and moved to Ardmore, that's when I found First Baptist Ardmore. And I joined, and I think it was 2000. And then that's when I came to know Christ, is at the age of 13. But a really pivotal moment in my life was when I joined First Baptist Ardmore, and then about in 2002, I met a guy. And that was probably one of my first real relationships, and I just made poor decisions. At that point, I let him move in with me. It was not a good relationship. I quit going to church for about 2 years, and we went through a pretty rough breakup. I had to call the cops on him one night. I mean, it just was, he was never abusive, but there were drugs and alcohol involved, and I finally just realized that I had strayed so far from God that after we broke up, I really wanted to get back in church. But it was really hard for me because I had been away from church for about 2 years. During those 2 years, though, there were people in my life like Sydney Hill and Debbie Vernon and Judy Fannin that would always reach out to me and tell me that they missed me and that they loved me. And those, although it didn't seem like they were getting through to me at the time, those were pivotal moments. I mean, because I realized that there were people at that church that still loved me and wanted to see me. And so I had a little bit of shame when I decided I wanted to go back to church. I had turned away from the sinful life that I was leading, and I wanted to come back to to First Baptist Ardmore, but I still felt a little shame about the life I had led for 2 years. And it was Easter of 2005. Yeah, Easter of 2005 that I just sat down one night and I prayed that God would give me the strength to go back to First Baptist for Easter. I really wanted to be somewhere in church on Easter Sunday. Hadn't been back yet. And I prayed about it, and that next morning I got a postcard in the mail from Sydney Hill, who was my Sunday school teacher at the time. And it just said, "I miss you. I'd love to see you this Sunday." And I thought, I'm going to go. And I not only told the Lord I was going to go, I called Sydney and promised her, because I knew if I promised her, I wouldn't go back on it. And I just love that part of my story, because it just proves how important it is to reach out to people that haven't been in church for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, it's cool that your testimony is one where technology was involved in leading you to Christ, you know what I mean? But then what also is really cool is it has that human element where you strayed away for a minute and you could have came up with every excuse in the book, but the church didn't give up on you. You know, the people in the church didn't give up on you, and they reached out to you. That's so encouraging to hear and just kind of see. And I bet that shapes a lot of how you engage with other people inside of our church. Hey Don, what about you? What's your testimony and your story?
Well, my story is that I was kind of like, I guess, Dr. Fannin. I'm kind of like him in one way, I guess. I was in church 9 months before I was born. I mean, that's all I ever know. My dad's been a Baptist preacher for probably 65 years, something like that. I don't even know how long. And so, I mean, always went to church, didn't know anything besides church. I mean, that's all we've ever known. And what a good thing it is. I mean, it's nothing better, really. And so it's always been a good thing. Anyway, went to church, you know, all my life as a younger person. At the age of about 12, I was in church camp and walked the aisle at church camp. And really, only reason I probably did it because everybody else was doing it. Was the thing. And, you know, really knew that, you know, I really wasn't saved, but you know what, I was a good person, and you know what, I wasn't too bad, and so it was good enough for years. And like rocked on there, and I was probably 20, I think around 26 years old one day, and I was mowing my yard. And as I was mowing the yard, I thought, you know, if I was to die today, I would not spend eternity in heaven. And I stopped the mower and went and sat on my deck and asked Jesus to save me right there. 26 years old. You know, I was a Sunday school teacher. I was everything in the church that you would probably could almost do, but I wasn't saved. You know, you can be everything and everything, but it still is not going to matter in the end. The only thing that's going to matter in the end is your personal relationship with Jesus. That's it. Nothing else is going to matter. So, you know, I went forward. I think there might have been a revival going on at church at that time. Went forward. It might have been that night, or I can't remember exactly when, and was baptized the next time baptism was done. You know, and it really didn't matter. I mean, it just had to become a point in your life where, you know, like people I think have a problem with what will people think and what, you know. Well, you know, it doesn't matter what people think. Right. I guarantee you, I know most everybody at First Baptist Church Ardmore, they're going to be really, really happy that you made this decision, because they know how important it is, and they know that people struggle with it. And, you know, I've known people that struggle with it all their life, and there's only one way to take care of it, and that's nail it down. Yeah. I mean, that's all you got to do. Then after that, you know, I mean, like I said, I've pretty much been in church all my life. I don't really know anything from church. This is probably, during this COVID-19 deal we're going through, this is probably about the longest I've been away from church, even going through cancer treatments for years and years and years.
What's been a life-shaping moment that's kind of transformed you as a family?
So you gave us a little insight on what these questions might entail. And as a family, just Dawn and I, if you narrow it down to just us, being married for about 6 years, we talked about that. What would be our life change? What, you know, and probably your health, don't you think? I mean, because I could list multiple things. I mean, I could list things I've been through in my personal life, but us together, your amputation, going through cancer treatments. He'll go through cancer treatments and then he's over them. You know, and we have a life of normal for a while. But having an above knee amputation completely changed everything from that point forward. I mean, the way you live daily life.
And I've told people cutting your leg off is really not that big of a deal.
Sure.
The problem is after you cut it off.
Yeah.
That's when all the problems set in. It was a lot tougher than I thought it would be to learn how to walk.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to.
But it changes not just that, it changes. I mean, that was a process to get over, and then just things like, you know, I know Don doesn't get to do a lot of the stuff he wishes he could do.
It really changes your life. You wouldn't think that one thing could change your life so much of the things that you would like to do that you can't do. And so many times we as people, and I've said this before, we take our health for granted.
Right.
And you're not guaranteed anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
You know, see what's going on in the world today?
Being on the outside looking in, I think you gave up your leg because the doctors told you that was where
it's where I had to go.
If we give it up, it'll be gone.
That was the hope, yeah.
That was the hope.
He had it in the same bone.
Wow.
For 3. He had.
That's okay. She's okay.
3 times in the same bone.
That's all right. That's your baby. Your fur baby.
Third time was like, you know what we have to do now.
Yeah.
And so we made that decision and to amputate.
Would you say that cancer's defined you, or would you say that no way, I'm still Don, like I'm still doing me and doing what I want?
I think maybe I've defined cancer. You know, it's you can either let it define you or you can define it. And I hope that I have defined it. I go and do pretty much what I want to do. There's some things I can't do, but you know, it's you know, you just get up every day and just be thankful you get up every day. There's a lot of people that don't get up every day.
Yeah.
It happens every day, and you know, it just goes back to what I think about when I think about that is I think about, you know, are you ready to meet your Maker? Are you ready for the eternity? I think about that every day, how, you know, if whatever happens, it's not going to matter, because what lies ahead is going to be so much better than what there is here. But it makes you really think about, you know, you better, like the one old man said, you better have your ticket punched.
I think it's so encouraging just hearing your story and knowing it from you guys, you know, and whenever you look at this, and whenever you're seen inside our church, man, people see you guys. You're on stage and you're in every service, and I mean, people recognize you guys, and people don't know maybe the fullness of what's going on and what kind of cost it came to, but I think what's so cool is how you said, even through all this, like, I continued to be a part of church, I continued to gather together. This, being quarantined and being stuck in your home, has been a longer stint of you being away from church than the physical sacrifices that you made. And what a true statement to say that you're defining cancer and that you're not going to allow it to define you. I love you guys in your walk with the Lord and how it's on example for the church, man. And they get to see you guys saying, hey, this is the life that we have, and we're not going to live it for our own selfishness. We're going to live it to glorify God. Have you ever been mad or frustrated with God? And if so, how has God been with you through that frustration?
This gets me emotional, because immediately I think, and I don't like to turn, you know, I don't want anyone to think that our lives revolve around cancer.
No, sure.
Because what you just said, cancer, you've defined cancer, it doesn't define us. But when the cancer moved to his lung, and that's when they said, okay, maybe 3 years remission time from after this treatment. And it came back 6 months after his last treatment. So he had 6 months of remission time. That's when I think it was the hardest on me. And I remember us driving home and just being mad. Just being, I mean, not, but I tried to keep saying, I'm not mad at God. We were both mad.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being home one night and sitting at this table and talking to you about it and how upset I was and how mad I was. But a song music speaks to me just like scripture. But Chris Tomlin's song, Nobody Loves Me Like You Love Me, Jesus, that's what really spoke to me. It's like, I'm so mad and upset. And I know that God has good plans for us. But I just really, that song spoke to me. It kept reminding me of how much he loves us. No matter what we're going through, no matter how much this hurts and how mad I am, that he loves us so much. That's probably been the maddest and most upset I've ever been.
Don, what about you, man? And a moment of frustration, but how did you come through that frustration?
Well, I guess, like I said, we don't want to talk about the cancer deal all that much, but I mean, it's been so much a part of my life for 23 years. It was pretty tough going into that surgery, knowing that either you'll wake up with a leg or without a leg.
Wow.
You're not for sure. And so that was pretty tough. I had a real hard time with that. But the Lord spoke to me, not audibly, but he spoke to me and said, "You don't think I've had to suffer for you?"
Oh, wow.
It made me really think, you know what? Because I was kind of I always thought that, when you're young, you don't ever think about having to do any suffering for really, but man, I mean, it just kind of comes home all at once. You're thinking, life might get pretty tough sometimes, and it got tough. It got tough pretty quick, and so, you had to learn how to deal with it.
I think we take a lot for granted sometimes. We forget what the cost was for our sinfulness and what the cost was for our salvation, and here in our culture today, we don't pay much to follow Jesus. Around the world, people are paying with their lives, they're paying with their family, but God paid greatly so that we could even be in fellowship and have connection with him by giving his son, so what a good point, hey, have I not suffered for you? Because he has. He gave us the very best thing. Thank you guys so much for sharing your story, sharing your heart, and man, it's cool to see how God's using you and how God has great plans for you guys. I love you guys. I've said that several times in our interview, and I love that you're a part of FBC Ardmore. Thanks for watching 580 Students. We're so happy you joined us. If you enjoyed the video, make sure and hit that like button right down below, or push this button right here to subscribe. Then you can get all our cool content as it comes out. Here at FBC Ardmore, we're about investing in students with the truth of the gospel and equipping them to enjoy Christ forever. Thanks so much, and we hope to see you soon.
All this modern technology stuff.
Caleb's so high-tech, guys.
Does he get paid by the hour, or?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the interview or the hour.
It's a penny. It's a penny.
Say I owe you too.
For real. Maybe, just for you. Yeah, great.
Can you say this is my dad?
Yeah.